Hi, my name is Ursula and I'm an instructor at the College of DuPage. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about the science section for the ACT. This is part of our series on tips and tricks for the ACT and the SAT. So the ACT has a science section in it. The SAT does not have this section in it. There are three basic types of questions that they will ask you in this section. They'll ask you how to interpret charts and graphs. So they'll give you a passage and then you'll have charts and graphs where they'll ask you like simple questions about percentages, maybe ratios, things like that. You will not be able to use a calculator. So it would be in your best interest to make sure that you know how to do percents and stuff, either longhand or in your head, because you won't be able to use the calculator for this section. Another type of question that they ask you are the conflicting viewpoints. So they'll say, scientist one has this theory, scientist two has that theory. And then they'll say, which of the following statements would they both agree on? Which of the following statements would only scientist one agree with? And that kind of thing. So, so that's the conflicting viewpoints. And then the other type of question they'll ask you is about the scientific method. So they'll ask you about, independent and dependent variables, hypotheses, what's a control, what's an experimental group, like those kinds of things. So I'm going to go over a couple of those words that you really need to know. So say, for example, we're going to run an experiment and we're going to see how different types of music affect the growth of plants, all right? So then we're going to have a couple of plants, right? And we're going to assign them different types of music. So here's going to be our control, right? And then this plant over here will get exposed to jazz. This plant over here will get exposed to rap. And then this one over here will be exposed to instrumental music, right? So some of the things that you need to remember, like if you run an experiment like this, you can only change one thing at a time. So everything else needs to remain constant. So for example, you have to have the same type of plant. So like say these are all beans or something. They have to be in the same type of soil, the same type of pot. They need to have the same amount of sunlight, water, like all that kind of stuff has to be the same for all the plants. The only thing that's changing is the music that they're being exposed to. The control plant over here doesn't get any music, right? So he is just off over here on the side. That's the control. We're not going to experiment on him. So control group here. These are the experimental groups over here, right? These are the plants being experimented on. These get the different types of music. All right. So then you have the independent and the dependent variables. So the independent variable is the one that you are controlling. So I always tell my students, when you grow up, you want to be independent, you want to be in control of your life. So same thing here. The independent variable is the one that you control. And in this case, you're controlling the type of music, right? Because you get to, take the plant and put it in a room with jazz music, take the plant, put it in a room with rap music or whatever. But you're in control of that, so that's the independent variable. The dependent variable is going to be the growth in this case, because you can't do anything about that. Or you can't take the plant and make it grow out of the pot. But hopefully the music will make it grow in some way. So the growth of the plant depends on what type of music is being played for it, right? And that's your experiment there. So there are a lot of different things that you need to remember, like definitions of control, what would need to be controlled for in an experiment, the difference between independent and dependent variables. They could ask you things about like, how would the hypothesis change if you did this instead? Or they might give you an experiment that's set up incorrectly and you'll have to figure out like, well, what were the flaws in this experiment? Or like, maybe they came to the wrong conclusion and so what should they have taken into consideration or whatever. So it's basically, they will give you passages of experiments and you'll have to either interpret graphs about them, figure out like what went wrong or what went right, how can these be interpreted in terms of like the definition or scientific method. And then there's the type where you have the conflicting viewpoints. You have to make sure that you keep them straight. What scientist one said versus scientist two versus scientist three sometimes. So it just depends. So again, only the ACT has a science section in it. The SAT instead has 2 math sections. All right, so if you're interested in having one-on-one tutoring for the ACT or the SAT, you can contact us here through the website. There will be a green box off to the side, Youth Academy, and so you would give us your information like name, phone number, email address. Someone from the office will get back to you. let you know how to get a book and pair you up with an instructor. We're not going to be having in-person classes this summer, so the only thing that we will have is the one-on-one tutoring. Everything will be taking place online, so once you get an instructor, they will set up, Zoom meetings or Google Classroom, and you can just have one-on-one tutoring through them. All right, so I hope this was helpful, and make sure that you check out the other videos that are part of this series. There is English, reading, math, science, and essay. Thanks so much for watching.